Hey guys, welcome to part 4 of our It series. This is going to be a total of a 6-part series, and if you haven't checked out any of our videos, we will click that in the link over there. But today we are reviewing the It miniseries from 1990.
And it was fun.
So we knew going into this that this is not a well-done miniseries. It's like, what, 3.5, 4 hours long, something like that?
Yeah, and she had never seen it before, and I had seen it when I was a kid, like over a decade ago, probably more like 15, 16 years ago. I barely remember any of it. And it was bad.
Real bad.
It was pretty bad. Right from the beginning of the movie, it becomes very apparent that the acting in this movie is probably the weakest link. It's really bad.
And there are actually a surprising amount of actors that we know in this movie. I think there were like 2 or 3 that I wasn't expecting. So there's John Ritter, which has been in a lot of things. I know him from 8 Simple Rules from Dating Your Teenage Daughter. And then we had Seth Green, who's in Buffy and a myriad of other things.
Almost every single scene in this movie is way overacted, especially by the adults. That's when it becomes very egregious. I think with the kids, you can give them a pass, and some of them actually act a little bit more naturally. But
and adult Beverly is played by the mom from Smallville. She's also been in other things too.
That's true. But almost every scene, especially once they're adults, way overacted.
I think part of it was a problem with the script writing and the direction, and part of it was probably the actors. But yeah, it wasn't written all that great. Like, it stuck to the story pretty well, but I don't know.
The writing was definitely super clunky, which that kind of brings us to the plot. As we went through the plot, it kind of followed the book.
They made some changes that just didn't make sense to me. As with all book-to-movie adaptations, typically there are things where it's like, I understand why you made those changes for a movie adaptation, but there are some changes that I'm always like, why? How did that enhance the movie experience? I don't understand.
Yeah, there was just a lot of things in this that were confusing, where they, for one scene, would completely copy, like, scene for scene, detail for detail, everything
word
from the book.
for word.
Yeah, and then some scenes they would change things or switch out characters. Like, I think the most noticeable where they had the scene with Ben when he's an adult coming back to Derry in the library where he encounters Pennywise. They switched it out for Richie.
Yeah, why?
For no reason. It was kind of weird.
Another change was why Mike Hanlon decides to call the team to bring them back. And in the book, it was because, a lot of other kids start dying again, probably due to Pennywise. And this time it was because of that, but also because a picture of Georgie was found at one of the crime scenes, which makes no sense to me.
Yeah, that was very weird. And the fact that he just immediately recognized George.
Like, Pennywise just carries, like, a picture of all the kids that he's killed in his back pocket, and it's just like, you know what, I'll leave this here. Like, what?
Which I thought was very interesting about Pennywise in this one. He did a lot more, like, teasing with them.
It wasn't scary, like, at all.
Yeah, it was... Everyone praises Tim Curry's performance, and it was good, but...
No, I love Tim Curry, but I do not think that this was a great, portrayal of Pennywise from the book.
I agree. I think what he does is interesting, but compared to the It from the book and Pennywise from the book, it falls very flat, and it's way too goofy, for one.
Yeah, I agree. It wasn't like... The only sense of, like, foreboding or scariness I got was by the overacting of the characters, not by what Pennywise was actually doing. So I was like, oh, these people are reacting this way, so therefore I should feel this way, but I don't.
Which was almost the funniest part, is there wasn't a whole lot of scary things that happened, but they acted so horrified at, like, the littlest things. Like, Pennywise would just show up, and they'd be like, and you're like, he's just standing there. And he's not even that creepy looking. He looks like a normal clown, like...
Besides the teeth.
Yeah.
There were parts where in the book... They actually, like, had a really good reaction to it. Like, they were like, oh, I'm the only one who can see this right now, and I'm in a public place, so I need to act like I can't see it. And then in this, it was like freaking the flip out in public, and I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, like, let's just run away screaming, like,
It
what?
kind of dumbed down the characters quite a bit, I think. In the book, they're pretty smart, even as kids. Like, they figure out how to work around Pennywise and, like, what he's, like, made of and, like, what the rules are, essentially, for this, like, supernatural-ish being. But in the movie, I didn't really get that.
And they even dumbed down Pennywise and Pennywise's weakness instead of it being more complex.
That's true.
You know, they way oversimplified it. But I also just felt like in the book, Pennywise actually tries to kill them. That's why it's scary, because on like 12 to 15 different occasions, Pennywise straight up tries to murder them, and they narrowly escape, something like that. But in this movie, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's more of a like, oh, I'm going to almost get you, oh no. Like,
I'm going to tease you from afar, ha ha ha, and then disappear, like, instead of actually just try to kill you.
Yeah, and they definitely, like, toned down a lot of the darker parts of it, which I guess I understand, because it was TV.
It was TV 14.
Right, so I get that. But, like, Henry Bowers was not scary at all, and I think Henry Bowers is one of the creepiest characters from the book. Like, he is just terrifying in the fact that he's a human, but inflicting all these horrors. And they toned down quite a bit of that in the TV movie, and I think that they still could have upped some of that without it being, like, graphic.
And they took out all of the racism, all of the domestic abuse.
Which I think is important for the storyline, because the big thing with Stephen King's books, a lot of them, and we talked about this in some of our other videos, is the fact that it's not just the scary, unknown, supernatural thing, it's also human behavior and, like, real-world horrors. And I felt like a lot of that was taken out. Like, Beverly's husband wasn't even her husband. It was, like, a boyfriend, and, like, a lot of the stuff that happens with him doesn't happen in the movie, and I think that part's important for the story.
And I think without that, it completely reduced Beverly's character, which, don't worry, this movie still managed to reduce her down to a vagina the entire time.
Yeah, and let's talk about the creepy way that, like, they interact with each other. So Beverly, in the book, like, they all love each other like kids, you know? Like, it's not like, oh, I genuinely love you. I didn't get that sense, at least. Maybe not till they were kind of adults. But in this movie, like, when they meet back up, like, Beverly's, like, greeting certain members of the Loser Club with kisses on the mouth, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, she straight up kisses, like, 3 dudes in one scene.
But then some of them she doesn't, so I'm like, wait, why do some get kisses and some don't, and why aren't any getting any of them?
She kissed everyone but Mike Hanlon, and I was like, that's racist. It was just like, why is she choosing certain people to kiss?
Yeah, and then, like, her and Ben are instantly, like, glued at the hip as adults, and that doesn't happen in the book. Like, it's a thing that develops over kid time and adult time, and we didn't get any of that, really. And the parts we did get was very forced and very, like, I'm gonna plop this right here. They also changed quite a bit of the ending, which we're not going to go into spoiler specifics, so if you haven't seen it, don't worry. But they battle it as kids and also as adults, and when they do it as kids in the movie, it tones down a lot of that. Like, in the book, you see its true form as kids and adults, and in this, the kids don't see that at all, and they defeat it really easily. Super easily, and I don't know, it didn't make that much sense, and I really didn't like that scene, honestly, when they do that as kids. It was very anticlimactic, in my opinion, and very like, oh, that's it?
Well, and there was no build towards it either.
No.
In order to get there, randomly the movie, they just go, let's go! And they go and fight that, whereas in the book, there's a lot more stuff pushing them towards that, plot-wise. And, yeah, just not a whole lot happened when they first battled it.
And then when they battle it as adults, you do get to see its true form, but you don't get to see a lot of the details that surround it that I think made that part extra creepy in the book.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting try at, like, creating what they thought Pennywise, like, true form would look like. It was weird, though.
I think a big reason that a lot of this movie felt really weirdly arranged or things left out in strange places is because the director admitted to purposefully not reading the book or doing his research whatsoever, which why would you ever do that? I don't understand. It never works out well.
Purposefully avoiding the source material that you're going to base your movie on. And he came back later and said that he felt like it, after reading the book, later on after making the movie, he was like, oh, my movie fell short.
Yeah,
a lot.
for sure. Also in the book, it goes into a lot of detail of what Pennywise is and why he/it is there and where it came from, and they don't do any of that in this movie at all whatsoever.
Nope, there's no exposition.
Yeah, and I know that part's more complicated and a little more like, ooh, out there kind of thing, but I really wish they had put it in. I hope they put it in the new ones, because I think it adds more depth to the story.
I agree. I'm really interested to see how the new movies, how crazy they're willing to go with it. And I hope they go all the way and stick with the book. Ultimately, I think we feel the same way about this movie as the director does. It just falls short in so many areas of just making a good movie and also an adaptation of a really good book.
Yeah, I think that we are definitely excited to see the new one and hopes that it stands up a lot more true to the story and the vibe. I think that was the biggest thing missing out of this miniseries, was just the vibe was weird and off in a lot of the scenes. So overall, just not great.
What did you guys think of this miniseries? Did you actually like it? When was the last time you saw it? Like, I know for me, it didn't age very well, whereas I used to think it was very scary, and this time it was laughably bad the entire time. So let us know down in the comments below what you guys thought. As always, if you enjoyed this video, leave us a like and subscribe. Like we said, we have a whole series that we've been doing on it, and if you want to check some of those out or some of our other videos, you guys can click right over there, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.